Okay, so as usual, just unmute whenever you have a question or a comment. Good morning, everybody. It's October 27th, in case you're watching the recording of this class, and we're nearing the end of the book of Joshua. I have in my notes, since we didn't meet last week, that we had read chapter 20, but we didn't get to the commentary in ancient Israel on chapter 20. So that's where we'll pick up this morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shekidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So chapter 20 was about setting up the asylum cities, what are called cities of refuge also, that the Torah commanded to be set up once the people entered the land of Israel. Cities of refuge where people would go if they accidentally killed someone, not if they intentionally murdered someone. That's not the refuge. Refuge is for people who accidentally kill someone, to be saved, to run away then, and to be sheltered officially from this ancient idea of the blood avenger. So the family member of the one who was killed accidentally would have the ancient right to avenge the blood of their relative by killing the one who accidentally killed them. So to escape that, there's refuge cities that were set up, three in the land of Israel, three outside the land of Israel in the territory of Reuben, Gad, and half the tribe of Manasseh. So those three cities on the eastern side of the Jordan River were in parallel to the three cities on the western side of the Jordan River in the land of Israel itself. Okay, so that's what chapter 20 was about. So below the line on page 85 in ancient Israel, the towns of asylum which I spoke to you through Moses. The laws for the town of asylum are laid out in Numbers 35 and restated in somewhat different terms in Deuteronomy 19. Although the literary formulation of the laws here was probably done 2 or 3 centuries after the founding of the monarchy, the laws themselves reflect the tribal period when there was no centralized judicial authority and vendetta justice prevailed in cases of murder or manslaughter. All right, so Alter is suggesting that the book of Joshua is written in the period of the monarchy, kind of as a harking back to what the days were like before the monarchy. 3, a murderer. The Hebrew rotseach, which generally means murderer, also encompasses manslayer, as in the present context. Perhaps it is used to stress the gravity of destroying life, even unintentionally. So this gets to an issue, obviously, with the 10 Commandments, because I always translated lo tirtzach, the 6th commandment, as do not murder, as opposed to the Christian translation, thou shalt not kill. So to highlight then how in Judaism killing is sometimes mandated by Jewish religious moral law, and that there is a difference and there's a gray area about taking a life, and that it's not black and white. In other words, the Torah does not teach that all taking of life is wrong, which the Christian translation of that commandment would then teach. All killing is wrong. Whereas if you understand it as murder, which rotseach usually is translated as murder, then you have a difference. Okay, murder is wrong, but killing might be okay in self-defense or in war or something like that, right? So if he's saying here, Alter, just a sec. If he's saying that it's manslaughter, well, okay, maybe there's gradations in killing, right? Third degree murder, second degree murder, first degree murder, manslaughter, right? Killing with like killing somebody while driving your car could be murder, but it's also manslaughter, and then it's also, is it unintentional? So there are all these different gradations, which still might say that sometimes killing is okay, but it's just adding more nuance to it. Yes, Bess.
If you, Jonah, accidentally killed Deborah,
Yeah,
and Deborah were my sister
yeah,
or daughter,
yeah, or whatever.
wife,
Blood
I
relative.
can murder you.
The idea in the Torah is yes, if it's proven to be that it was accidental and not intentional, then yes, you have the right to avenge your sister's blood. Now, in the Torah, it's just men taking care of men's business. So we can make it egalitarian and say, yes. So then it would be up to the court to protect me in my journey to the city of refuge. And then when the high priest dies, then I'm set free and you have no right to avenge your blood her blood once I'm out of the city. And if you do, then that would be considered murder.
Okay, so I don't have any case against me
What do you mean?
for killing you for killing Deborah.
If you kill
I'm a
me,
murderer.
if you kill me before I get to, if you kill me,
Yeah, before.
yeah. So the rabbis are trying to balance what the Torah says and how they are more progressive than the Torah in instituting um, themselves and the courts into this. So in other words, because the Torah says it, they have to keep it there in the system. They can't say that we are disregarding the blood avenger. What they are saying is that they are taking over the role of the blood avenger by having the court take care of avenging the blood. Okay?
So I cannot kill you?
So right. So you can't do it. Right. You theoretically have the right, but in the way the rabbis are understanding how is Israelite Jewish society should be run, no, that's no longer we're not allowing blood avengers anymore.
Thank you.
Okay? So, but again, this is the book of Joshua before the rabbis ever existed. So this is Torah law or Bible law, not rabbinic law. All right, so the commentaries in verse 3 continue. Inerrance without intending. This duplication of language brings together the term used in Numbers with the one used in Deuteronomy. Blood avenger, the literal sense of this designation is blood redeemer. That idiom reflects an archaic notion that when the blood of one's kin is shed, it has been lost to or perhaps drained away from the family, and it must be redeemed by shedding the blood of the killer. Okay, however we understand these ancient blood taboos and whatnot. So, we have a remnant of that in kosher laws, right? And that we're not allowed to eat the blood of the meat that we're consuming, right? It has to be soaked and salted to get as much of the blood out as possible. And liver, which can't be soaked and salted, has to be broiled in order to release all of the blood. So that it's still this idea of blood and blood being life is still in 2023 still observed. So we're on page 86. Until he stands before the community in judgment until the death of the high priest. These look suspiciously like contradictory terms. The fugitive has already received what amounts to a verdict of innocent when the elders accept his plea in the gateway of the town, the place of judgment. If a general amnesty obtains after the death of the high priest, why does the fugitive have to stand trial a second time? It's possible that the writer responsible for this passage was uneasy with the idea of a blanket exculpation at the time of the death of the high priest, and wanted to emphasize that the fugitive's innocence had to be determined by judicial proceedings. All right, so this could also be, this transition from biblical law to rabbinic law as well. And to the town from which he had fled. This phrase seems redundant after to his town. Perhaps one should drop the and read it as an explanatory apposition to his town, to the town from which he has fled. Okay. 9, to flee there, anyone striking down a person in errance, that he not die by the hand of the blood avenger. This phraseology repeats the language of the beginning of this section in an envelope structure. Until he stand before the community. He stands before the community to be judged, as verse 6 makes explicit. Here at the end, no mention is made of the death of the high priest, perhaps because the writer wanted to emphasize judicial proceedings, not amnesty. Okay, so now let's go on to chapter 21, and let's see if we'll be able to, it's 43 verses. Well, I'm just looking at the end of the chapter, and we're going to see something very interesting in the text. I just want to see, my new edition has it there. Yeah, it's there in the old edition too on page 129. Anyway, we'll get there when we get there, and we'll see how much of the chapter we'll be able to finish. Vayikshu Roshei Avot HaLeviim El Elazar HaKohen Ve'el Yehoshua bin Nun Ve'el Roshei Avot HaMatot Livnei Yisrael. So the heads of the fathers' houses of the Levites approached Eleazar the Kohen and Joshua son of Nun, and to the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the people of Israel. Vayidabru aleihem b'Shilo be'eretz Canaan lemor, Adonai tziva b'yad Moshe latet lanu arim lashavet umigrashehen levehemtenu. So they, that is the heads of the Levitical families, said to them in Shiloh, in the land of Canaan, Shiloh is where the Mishkan was, saying, God commanded through the hand of Moses to give us cities to dwell in, and areas, fields, pastures for our animals, or open land, it says here. Okay, migrash. Migrash is in modern Hebrew as not so much open land. It's kind of like a field. It could be a playground. Anyway, it's area for cattle. 3. Vayitnu v'nei Yisrael leleviim minachalatam el pi Adonai et ha'arim ha'ele ve'et migrashehen. And so the people of Israel gave to the Levites from their inheritance to the word of God, but there's an asterisk which says that maybe the aleph should be an ayin, and then that would mean by the word of God, these cities and their areas. 4. Vayetze hagoral lemishpachot hakehati. So, Vayhi livnei Aharon hakohen min haleviim mimate Yehuda umimate Hashimoni umimate Vinyamin bagoral arim 13. So the lot came out for the families of the Kohathites. So I think there are 4 Levitical families. So this is the first Levitical family now that's going to be dealt with. And so the children of Aaron the priest, from the Levites, from the tribe of Judah, from the tribe of Shimon, from the tribe of Benjamin, through lottery, 13 cities. So I think in this cryptic way, it's saying that the Kohathites, who are from the Aaron's, the Kohen from the Levites, get cities that are in Judah, Shimon, and Benjamin. All right, so the Kohathites get cities from those 3 tribes. 5, Velivnei Kahat Hanotarim Mimishpachot Mate Ephraim Umimate Dan Umechatzi Mate Menashe Bagoral Arim Aser. And the rest of the children of Kohat, had they got from the families of the tribes of Ephraim, tribe of Dan, and half the tribe of Menashe in lottery 12 cities. 10 cities. All right, so I'm not sure now, understanding this, why there are leftover Kahat families. Like, why weren't they all included in the first Kahat families of verse 4? And why these extra Kahat families get 10 more cities that are in 3 other tribes. So I don't get that. So we'll see the commentaries in a moment. Velivnei Gershon, so this is another Levitical family, the Gershonites. Mimishpachot Mate Yisachar, Umimate Asher, Umimate Naphtali, Umechatzi Mate Menashe, Babashan, Bagoral, Arim, Shloshesrei. So the Gershonites, they got from the families of the tribes of Yisachar, the tribe of Asher, the tribe of Naphtali, and half the tribe of Menashe in the Bashan. So that's the other half of Menashe that's on the other side of the Jordan River. So they got this in a lottery, and they got 13 cities. The Livnei Merari, so it's another one, the Merarite family, Lamishpachotehem, Mimate Reuven, Mimate Gad, Umimate Zvulun, Arim Shtemesrei. So they get 12 cities from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the tribe of Zebulun. All right, so they stretch over the other side of the Jordan and into, so they Reuben and Gad, so they gave up cities, and Zebulun gave up cities, total of 12. Vayitnu b'nei Yisrael. Okay, so there are 3 Levitical families that Kohathites divided into 2. Right? So you got the Kohathites in verse 4, and you got the rest of the Kohathites in verse 5, and then you get the Gershonites and the Merarites. Okay, so those are the 4. Verse 8. Vayitnu b'nei Yisrael ha'leviim et ha'arim ha'ela v'yat migrashehem kasher tziva Adonai biyad Moshe bagoral. So the people of Israel gave to the Levites these cities and their open land as God commanded through the hand of Moses in lottery. So now we're going to have the list of all these cities. 9. Vayitnu mimate b'nei Yehuda umimate b'nei Shimon et ha'arim ha'ele asher yikraetem b'shem. So the tribe of the children of Judah and the tribe of the children of Shimon, these cities were given as they were called by name. 10. Vayihi livnei Aharon mimishpachot ha'kehati mibnei Levi kilahem haya hagoral rishona. And to the sons of Aaron from the family of Kohat. Oh, that's the thing. 3 Levitical families and 1 Kohanite family. So the Kohatites are divided into Levis and Kohanim. I think that's the issue here. And so now verse 10, so the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, who are by definition Levites, right? All Kohanim are Levites. All Kohanim are part of the tribe of Levi, but a Kohen is a subset of the tribe of Levi. So they are that particular Kohat family that is part of Kohen, as opposed to the rest of the Kohatites who are Levites. Okay, right? Because Aaron and Moses are brothers. So if they're brothers, they should be the same, but they're not. Aaron is a Kohen, Moses is a Levi. Okay, yes, yes.
Gershonites are of Gershon, the son of Moses.
Yes. Yes, I think that's it. And the Merarites, I don't remember who Merar was.
The sons of Aaron who were killed because of the golden calf.
Right. So that's not Nadav and Avihu. I don't think they had kids at that point.
That's what I wanted to know.
I don't remember, but I don't think so. So it's Eleazar and Itamar who are left. Okay, so that's why Eleazar is here as the high priest. Right, so we're starting with the Kohanim who get cities. The lot went to them first. Verse 11. Vayitnu lahen et Kiryat Arba, Avi ha'anok, hi Chevron, Bahar Yehuda, v'et migrasheha sevivoteha. So they were given Kiryat Arba, who was the father of Anok, which is Chevron, in the Judean mountain, and its open land around it. Ve'et Sedei Ha'ir ve'et Chatzereha natnu leChalev ben Yefuneh ba'achuzato. But the field of the city and the villages thereof were given to Caleb, son of Yefuneh, in his possession. V'livnei Aaron HaKohen natnu et Ir Miklat HaRotzeach et Chevron ve'et Migrasheha ve'et Livna ve'et Migrasheha. So the sons of Aaron, the Kohen, they were given the refuge city for the murderer or the manslayer, Chevron and its open land, and Livna and its land. And ve'et Yatir ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Eshtemoa ve'et Migrasheha, so also Yatir and Eshtemoa, ve'et Cholon ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Devir ve'et Migrasheha, so Cholon and Devir, ve'et Ayin ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Utah ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Beit Shemesh ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Tesha me'et Shnei HaShavatim Ha'ela. So they got Ayin and Utah and Beit Shemesh and these 9 cities from these 2 tribes. So from Judah and Shimon. Umimate Binyamin et Givon ve'et Migrasheha, et Geva ve'et Migrasheha. So from the tribe of Benjamin, they got Givon and Geva, et Anatot ve'et Migrasheha. Anatot will come up later in the book of Jeremiah, because he had Jeremiah was a Kohen and he had family in Anatot. So the little bit of Bible that I know, that Anatot here is set up as a Kohen city, right? And it comes up later in the book of Jeremiah. So Anatot and Ve'et Almon Ve'et Migrasheha Arim Arba. So you got Anatot and Almon from the tribe of Benjamin, and so that and Givon and Geva. So you got 4 cities there. Kol Arei Bnei Aharon HaKohanim Shlosh Esrei Arim Umigrashehen. So all the cities of the sons of Aaron the Kohen, they got 13 cities and their roundabout land. All right, so these 13 cities are all also pretty close to Jerusalem, where when the temple was built, they were close enough to get there to work, right? It wouldn't have been too much of a, right, because Kohanim had every 2 weeks, there were 2-week shifts. So they didn't have to go take a week to get from the Galilee to Jerusalem. If their cities were there, these were closer in. Okay, verse 20. Ula mishpachot b'nei Kahat haleviim hanotarim mi b'nei Kahat vayhi arei goralam mimatei Ephraim. So the families of Kahat, who are the Levites, Those are leftover from the sons of Kahat. So their lottery cities were from the tribe of Ephraim. Vayitnu lahem et Ir Miklat Harotzeach et Shechem, v'et Migrasheha Bahar Ephraim, v'et Gezer, v'et Migrasheha. So they got the refuge city of Shechem and its land in the Ephraim mountain, and Gezer and its land. 22, Ve'et Kivtzayim, Ve'et Migrasheha, Ve'et Beit Choron, Ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Arba. So they got Kivtzayim and Beit Choron, so they got 4 cities. Umimate Dan, so from the tribe of Dan, at El Tekeh, Ve'et Migrasheha, at Gibeton, Ve'et Migrasheha, so they got El Tekeh and Gibeton, at Ayalon, Ve'et Migrasheha, at Gat Rimon, Ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Arba. And they also got Ayalon and Gat Rimon, so those 4 cities. Umimachatzit Mate Menashe et Tanach ve'et Migrasheha ve'et Gat Rimon ve'et Migrasheha Arim Shtayim. So from half the tribe of Menashe, they got Tanach and Gat Rimon. Kol Arim Eser umigrashehen lemishpachot b'nei Kahat anot Arim. So they got 10 cities and their land around it for the families of the leftover Kahat family. 27, V'livnei Gershon mimishpachot haleviim mechatzi mate Menashe et Ir Miklat Harotzeach et Golan, right? It's written strangely, Gimel with a dot next to it, which is the O sound, and then the Lamed with the T vowel, Golan, but there's a Vav there. So originally it was written Gimel Lamed Vav Nun, but the Masoretic note, the way it's supposed to be pronounced, is Golan, not Galon. Okay. At Ir Miklat Harotzeach et Golan, Babashan, ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Be'esh Terah, ve'et Migrasheha Arim Shtayim. So the Gershonite families from the Levites, from the tribe of Menashe, they got the refuge city of Golan in the Bashan and its land, and Be'esh Terah and its land, 2 cities. Umimate Yisachar et Kishion ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Dovrat ve'et Migrasheha, et Yarmut ve'et Migrasheha, et Ein Ganim ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Arba. So they got these 4 cities in Yisachar. 30, Umimate Asher et Mishal ve'et Migrasheha, et Avdon ve'et Migrasheha, et Chelkat ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Rechov ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Arba. So in the tribe of Asher, the Gershonites got these 4 cities. 32, Umimate Naphtali et Ir Miklat Harotzeach et Kedesh Bagalil, ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Chamot Dor, ve'et Migrasheha, ve'et Kartan, ve'et Migrasheha, Arim Shalosh. So from the tribe of Naphtali, they got the refuge city of Kedesh in the Galilee, and they got 3 Chamot Dor and Kartan. Kol arei ha-Gershuni lemishpachotam 13 ir umigrashehen. So all the Gershonite cities for the Gershonite families, they got 13 cities on their land, 34. Ulemishpachot b'nei Merari haleviim hanotarim me'et matei Zvulun et Yoknaam ve'et migrasheha, et Karta ve'et migrasheha, et Dimna ve'et migrasheha, et Nahalal ve'et migrasheha, Arim Arba. So for the Merarite families, the Levitical Merarite families that were left from the tribe of Zebulun, they got Yoknaam, Karta, Dimna, and Nahalal, 4 cities. Now there's an asterisk here, and that goes to the bottom of the page. And so what this asterisk says, I'm going to translate the Hebrew. You see between the 2 lines there, and a smaller font of Hebrew. So it says, so there's first, between the 2 lines, there's Hebrew without vowels. In a few manuscripts, there is found here 2 more verses. they're taken from 1 Chronicles, 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 63 and 64. And according to the Masorah, they're not fit to, they shouldn't be here. And so that they won't be missed, for the reader not to miss them, we put this here in the Gilayon, in the galley proofs kind of thing. We'll see if Alter talks about it more, but here, so there are 2 extra cities here. Umimate Reuven et Betzer ve'et Migrasheha ve'et Yatza ve'et Migrasheha. So they got from the tribe of Reuven, they got Betzer and Yatza. Et Kedemot ve'et Migrasheha ve'et Mephat ve'et Migrasheha Arim Arba. And they got Kedemot and Mephat, got 4 cities. Now, I don't know. I haven't been keeping track about the count here and the tribes, if it's all, maybe these 2 verses were added to make sure the math all added up. Because, or maybe, right, well, so the Merarites back in the beginning were supposed to have cities from the Reubenites, right? And then if we leave out these 2 verses that were added, then we don't get Reubenite cities given to them. Okay, so in other words, in verse 7, back on page 124, the Merarites are supposed to get cities from Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. And if we don't have these 2 verses, they get cities from Zebulun and Gad, but they don't have Reubenite cities listed. Okay, so I think that's why these 2 extra verses from the book of Chronicles were added here. But again, we'll see what Alter says about it. We'll see what the commentary on the page says about it too. Okay, so 36. Umimate Gad et Ir Miklat HaRotzeach et Ramot Bagilad ve'et Migrasheha ve'et Machanaim ve'et Migrasheha. So from the tribe of Gad, they got the refuge city of Ramot in Gilad and Machanaim. 37 at Cheshbon ve'et Migrasheha, at Yazer ve'et Migrasheha, Kol Arim Arba. And they got Cheshbon and Yazer. Kol ha'arim livnei merari lemishpachotam hanotarim mimishpachot leviim vayhi goralam arim shtemasrei. So all the cities of the Merarite families that were left from the families of the Levites, their lottery came out to 12 cities. 39, Kol arei haleviim betoch achuzat b'nei Yisrael arim arba'im u'shmone u'migrushehen. So all the Levitical cities in the possession of the people of Israel were 48 cities and its land. Tihiena, now we go over to page 130. Ha'arim ha'ela ir u'migrasheha savivoteha kain lechol ha'arim ha'ela. So thus all these cities would be city by city and its land around it. So for all these cities. All right, so it's just re-emphasizing. Yes, go ahead.
I thought the Levites get the food from the temple sacrifices because they don't have land and cattle of their own.
Right. So,
but here they're getting land.
So they do have land for their cattle, but they don't have land to farm.
Oh, so then they still can have meat from their sacrifices.
They could have meat from yes, and they also get food that's given from the truma that's set aside, and there are gifts of cattle that are given to Kohanim and Leviim, and this is a place to keep them.
Okay,
If you
seems
get
to me they're making out pretty good.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think if there's a downside for being a Levite.
They,
I'm not sure.
2 weeks every,
Right.
2 weeks of service.
Yeah. And you have to maintain a particular status. Right? You have to maintain a higher sense of purity than the average Israelite.
But
And
how do they work?
if you, I'm just going to say, if you're reading the Daf Yomi, you also you're limited as to who you can marry. Also, so if you want to
Don't
make,
they have,
go ahead, go ahead.
but this is not very near the temple.
The Levitical cities, right? Some
Right.
of them are far away. Yeah.
So they have to travel to Jerusalem every so often to do their duty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm just trying to picture.
Well, they needed land
I'm
to
not
live on.
sure how it worked. Go ahead. Go
They
ahead, Deb.
needed land to live on anyway. I mean, they
Yes.
needed somewhere to live.
Right. How it worked best, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure any book in the Bible actually describes how it works. So it just describes how it's supposed to work, but it doesn't tell us how it actually did work. Okay. And the Talmud tells us how it would work, but they're projecting back and also projecting forward to when the Messiah comes and the third temple is built. This is how it would work, but who knows? Okay, 41. Vayitain Adonai leYisrael et kol haaretz asher nishba latet la'avotam vayerashuha vayeshvuva. So God gave to Israel all the land that was promised to give, that was sworn to be given to their ancestors, and they inherited it and they dwelled in it. 42. Vayanach Adonai lahem misaviv kechol asher nishba la'avotam v'lo amad ish bifneihem mikol oivehem et kol oivehem natan Adonai biyadam. So God caused them rest all around, as was sworn to their fathers or their ancestors, and no one stood up against them from all their enemies. All their enemies God gave into their hands. A nice way of saying there was peace. God made peace all around. 43. Lo nafal davar mikol hadavar hatov asher diber Adonai el Beit Yisrael hakol ba. Nothing was omitted from all the good things that God spoke to the people of Israel that would come to pass. So, in other words, everything that God promised came true. That's the end of chapter 21. So let's read the commentary on it, going back to page 123. On the bottom left, the heads of the fathers' houses. The phrase is defined in 22:14. Okay. Unto Eleazar the priest. They were responsible for the division of the country among the tribes. At Shiloh, where the tent of meeting was set up. After the sanctuary had become established in a more or less permanent location, and they had become servants of the Lord in this permanent sanctuary. In the land of Canaan, after all the tribes had received their shares of the land, only then could the Levites demand their cities, a number of which were to be given by each tribe from its inheritance. The Lord commanded, see Numbers 35. The Kohathites, the Levites, were divided into 3 families named after Levi's sons, namely Gershonites, Kohathites, and Merarites. They were enumerated in Numbers 26. Aaron the priest, he was a descendant of Kohat. See there. The rest of the children of Kohat, apart from Amram, Aaron's father, they were Yitzhar, Hebron, and Uziel. The descendants of Moses were also included. By lot, to determine which tribe was to assign cities to which Levitical family. The children of Gershon, they were Livni and Shimi, Exodus 6. The children of Merari, they were Machli and Mushi. Kiryat Arba, I'm on 125 now. See on 14:15. According to 15, Hebron was given to Caleb. The reconciliation is effected by distinguishing between the wider territory, fields, villages, and the immediately neighboring towns, all belonging to Hebron, as given to Caleb, whereas the city proper with the open land around it was given to the children of Aaron as a Levitical city. See the following two verses. Gave they, better they had given. The city of refuge, the 6 cities of refuge enumerated in the previous chapter were all Levitical cities. Livna, see on chapter 10. Yatir, Eshtemoa, the names have a slightly different form in chapter 15. Cholon, see 15:51. Devir, Ayin, literally well, in 1 Chronicles 6. Instead of Ayin, the reading is Ashan. The full name may have been Ein Ashan, perhaps the Bar Ashan of 1 Samuel. Beit Shemesh, Givon, Givah, Anatot. Now Anatah, 3 miles northeast of Jerusalem. It was the birthplace of Jeremiah. Almon, called Alemat in 1 Chronicles, now Almit, near Anatot. The Levites who were not descendants of Aaron, Shechem, Gezer, Kivtzayim, half the tribe of Manasseh, verse 25, 127, that's settled in western Canaan. Givot Rimon, not the same town as that in verse 24. It's mentioned in the Tel El Amarna letters, but its site is unknown. Tel El Amarna is an archaeological site dug up that had a large stash of cuneiform tablets that were pre-biblical and shed a lot of light on things referred to in the Bible. So there are some names in the Torah that are similar to names that are found in these Tel El Amarna letters, and also names of towns in the Torah are also, some of them are found in these letters. Okay. 1 Chronicles 6 substitutes Bil'am, which may be identical with Iblaam. The half-tribe of Manasseh, namely that settled in Transjordan. Let's go on page 128, 32 on the right, Chamot Dur, called Chamon in 1 Chronicles 6. The name implies that it was a city near the hot springs, possibly in the plain of Genneseret, but its exact site is unknown. Okay, let's look on the right-hand side of 129, 12 cities. For this number, the 4 cities in the 2 bracketed verses inserted from 1 Chronicles 6 must be included. Otherwise, there are only 8. A parallel list of Levitical cities is given in 1 Chronicles 6 with a number of variants. In some instances, they are nothing more than different forms of the same name. In others, different cities are indicated. That's because some of the cities which fell by lot to the Levites were then still in enemy hands, and others had to be substituted. Okay, that's one way to explain it. Kimchi is a medieval commentator, so that could be one way to explain it. Another way to explain it is like Alter does. Joshua was written after the fact. We just don't remember the names anymore. So maybe they were made up. Okay, so a couple more commentaries on the bottom of 130.
Jonah,
Yes.
do any of the names are meaningful?
No.
Okay.
No. Some of them come up later in the Bible. So, but again, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, they're not landmark cities. And there are places in Israel today that are cities and towns that are named the same, but it's possible that but we don't know for sure if the original biblical city was actually on that spot.
I mean, Kiryat Arba and
Right. So we think that's Hebron. So
Hebron.
some of these cities have had constant inhabitation over the centuries, so that they weren't empty for a couple of centuries, and then people forgot where the cities were. So Hebron, there's always been people living there. So yeah, we can rest assured that is Hebron that the Torah is talking about. Jerusalem, we can rest assured that that's Jerusalem. Jaffa, we can rest assured that's Jaffa. But some of these remote places that were uninhabited for a long time, we don't know. It's like Mount Sinai. We actually don't know where Mount Sinai is. Nobody lived there, so we don't know. Okay, so 130, there failed not aught. Although certain parts of the country were still left to conquer, this was because of neglect on the part of Joshua and Israel, not to the Almighty's failure to fulfill his word. Any good thing, etc. This verse summarizes the reiterated assurances which God made to the nation. Okay, let's take a look at altar on this chapter now. So we're on page 87 in altar. The Lord charged to give us towns. It's difficult to assess to what extent the list of Levitical towns reflects historical reality. It's improbable that the Levites actually had 48 of their own settlements, or that the other tribes would have ceded that much real estate to them. Achituv plausibly suggests that what they were given was quarters within the towns, which continue to be part of the domain of the host tribe. Okay, so this is biblical scholarship trying to make sense of this, how it could actually work. So if they were given a section of the town, then that makes more sense according to that scholar. The sons of Aaron the priest, through verse 19, we have the apportionment of towns to the priests. What follows is the apportionment to the Levites who make up the rest of the tribe of Levi. These towns and their fields, in an agricultural economy, the houses within a town would have been places of residence, but not sites from which income could be generated. Hence the need to have a share in the fields outside the town where crops could be grown or flocks pastured. From these areas outside the town, 3 terms are used. Migrash, field, as here. Chatzer, pasture land, evidently an enclosed field. And verse 12, Sadeh, open land, probably extending beyond the Migrashim. Towns of asylum, as this list makes clear, all the towns of asylum are Levitical towns, but many others assigned to the Levites are not towns of asylum. And from the tribe of God, in between the end of the preceding verse and these words, some Hebrew manuscripts insert the following: and from the tribe of Reuben, Bedzer and its fields, and Yatzah and its fields, Kedmot and its fields, and Mephat and its fields, 4 towns. Right, so he doesn't say anything about that. These towns, each town and its fields all around, thus these towns were. The syntax of the Hebrew is rather crabbed, but this seems to be the sense of the verse. Nothing failed. The literal sense of the Hebrew is nothing fell. The good things, the Hebrew uses a singular noun, and it could also be understood to mean the good word. Okay, so that ends chapter 21. I think we'll stop here for today. This chapter 22 was long. If it was only a couple of verses, I could see doing it, but time is fleeting, so we'll stop there for today. Hope everybody has a good rest of the day. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and we'll see you next Friday. Take care.
Shalom.